Majority of geneticists agree that humans originated out of eastern Africa, specifically in the region that is modern-day Sudan and Ethiopia. There has been debate as to whether or not humans came from one central area or from many locations in Africa. However, after comparing these two theories, scientists have concluded humans must have come from one identifiable place. Based on evidence obtained, it seems unlikely that when humans arose from their previous ancestor that they would have had mass migrations very early with high levels of gene flow, which is what the original theory stated. As for the central location theory, mitochondrial DNA sequencing along with microsatellite data has revealed the original human population had a large effective population size with high levels of heterozygosity and low linkage disequilibrium. This seems logical for a founder population. From here, humans seem to have migrated out of Africa from this location in one pathway up through modern-day Saudi Arabia to then branch off from this path to reach the other continents around the globe. Various studies using different DNA sequencing techniques have revealed the likelihood of humans originating in Eastern Africa.
As we've outlined, it is widely accepted that modern human populations originated in East Africa and later diverged around the globe. Previous studies have used mitochondrial DNA to generate mapping models on the basis that the initial spread of Homo sapiens was primarily driven by food resources and changing climate. However, more recent publications suggest that not only did the environment influence expansion, but also innate personality traits of early Homo sapiens. One of the best characterized personality-associated genes is dopamine receptor D4, or DRD4. Previous studies have associated DRD4 with novelty seeking, which is a personality trait associated with exploratory activity. Additionally, populations that migrated farther in the past 30,000 years had a higher frequency of DRD4 alleles, providing evidence that nomadic populations and sedentary populations are genetically different. One study proposed that individuals with novelty-seeking alleles were at an advantage during migration under novel ecological circumstances compared to individuals without novelty-seeking alleles. It is likely that populations with founders possessing these expansion-associated personality genes experienced a selective sweep. Further research into these alleles associated with novelty-seeking behavioral phenotypes may elucidate the model of human migration outward from Africa.
Though research continues to make the details of early human migration more clear, much remains to be determined, especially the specifics of the transition out of Africa. For example, as humans were leaving Africa, some sort of bottleneck seems to have affected the X chromosome. The X chromosome experiences genetic drift at only 3/4 the rate of autosomes, which should be observable when comparing data across populations. But when researchers compared X chromosomes in populations from Northern Europe, Eastern Asia, and Western Africa, they found that this ratio was consistent between the European group and the Asian group, but was less than 3/4 between those two groups and the African group. This can probably be explained by some sort of bottleneck event affecting the X chromosome. Originally, only a single exodus out was proposed, but recent research has suggested that at least 2 expansions occurred. Though this is still debated, it seems that the second expansion merely joined and interbred with the first, rather than total replacement of the original population. However, a different paper has suggested that only later expansions were genetically significant and that the original dispersion was ultimately unsuccessful. Additionally, examination of Y chromosomes in various populations reveals that a later expansion out of Asia back to Africa likely took place. One piece of the puzzle that may support this to some extent is that all non-African humans have Neanderthal DNA, including Australians. This could indicate that a group broke off after leaving Africa, or potentially supports a group backtracking across the continent to get there.
These migrants were not only influenced by favorable phenotypes, but there is strong evidence that points to bursts of human migration during periods of favorable climates. Using glacial global Earth system models to simulate climate fluctuations throughout the last 125,000 years, researchers were able to predict that migration events throughout Asia and into North America occurred once the Pleistocene period, also known as the Ice Age, ended around 11,000 years ago. This is consistent with other genetics-based models that predict American natives crossing the land bridge between Asia and North America around 10,000 years ago. I'll although our migration history may have been shrouded in mystery, the more we tackle the problem, the greater our knowledge will blossom.